David Samson joins us every Thursday here on the Local Hour. Follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson. Nothing Personal is a podcast. Make sure to follow that feed. He and Coca do a tremendous job. And if you don't have time to listen to it again, follow him on Twitter because very active with posting the social media clips. David, happy Grand Prix weekend. I'm sad that you're not here, brother, because this is a scene.
Damn lawyers.
You gotta come down, man. I don't know if you've ever been to one of these just super bougie, top 1% catered to events, but my God, pal, this is incredible.
So the activations around it are pretty awesome. I had not missed running the Marlins in quite a while until I was watching on social media yesterday's Marlins game, and there was Max Verstappen having a catch and throwing out a first pitch and doing jersey exchanges, and that would have been a prime example where I would have been front and center, not in front of cameras, I wouldn't have cared about that, but just meeting and having him up to my office and hanging out, having a cocktail, saying, hey, can I get a ride? Can I just drive in one of those cars one time? So it had been a long time since something has happened where I said, like, I was watching the Heat game, and I was looking at the old seats where I would sit, the old John Henry seats, which were part of the transaction, which Derek Jeter got rid of, by the way, which are the best seats in sports. And in the beginning, I missed those seats, but then I got over it. But yesterday, I had a hole in my stomach.
You had FOMO yesterday.
I did.
Sebastian Vettel made some news by wearing a...
Vettel.
It's Vettel?
Sebastian Vettel.
Is it? Huh.
Champion driver.
I thought it was Vettel, too.
I thought it was Vettel.
Sebastian Vettel.
I'm not so sure you're right about that. Either way.
Why are you doubting me? I'm the F1 fan in the room.
Motorsports are my passion. I was there last night.
Sebastian Vettel.
Look, bro. Let me tell you something. Formula One was out in full force. I had a tremendous time. I cannot wait till this thing comes back next year. I thought we knocked it out of the park. It was an amazing experience.
Not over yet.
What?
It's still going. It hasn't even happened.
No, I was at the race. I was at the race yesterday, bro. That Kevin Harvick won, bro. Like I was there.
Mike, what is your transportation plan?
So like I checked the Uber, I checked the Lyft, bro, and they were mad expensive. So I hopped in the Wagoneer and I just parked wherever, bro. And apparently they had a big problem with that. Like you can't just like park wherever. But I don't know. We'll see what Friday brings. You're telling me there's a race Friday.
It is going to put the cluster in clusterfuck.
So I was, real talk, I went into it thinking that it was absolutely going to be a cluster. And this was a very soft launch. There are parts of this track that are very much an active construction site. And they've got a day to clean it up, but it seems manageable. And for their first event, where that Kygo concert and all the F1 drivers showed up, I was mad impressed, dude. I thought it was going to be a disaster. Yeah, traffic was a little bad getting to there, but the signage was pretty crystal clear, I thought, and my hopes for this event have been buoyed a little bit with my first experience. Jess, you were there. You got a media tour from Tom Garfinkel and company. What was your takeaway?
I thought it looked great. It looked totally different than what we saw the last time we were there. I didn't see many portions of the track that looked like they weren't finished yet. We didn't get to walk the entire track, but they did take us on like a flatbed semi-truck and drive us around parts of it. And the track itself, for the most part, I think it's finished. I think the only finishing touches are cosmetic. Like there was some painting, there was some like...
The track, for the most part.
I didn't see anything.
Finished.
If I saw anything, I would definitely say so. But the track looked finished to me. There didn't look like there were any like major renovations happening. It looked like it was all just like potting plants and painting and stuff like that.
They're going 180 miles an hour. Hey, Jessica, is the track finished? Hey, it's mostly finished.
I was on a semi-truck flatbed. We were going like 2 miles an hour.
That'd be gnarly, bro.
And we were there on a media tour, so obviously everyone was taking pictures of everything. So they weren't trying to hide anything from us, as far as I could tell.
After the Kygo concert, Jess and I compared notes, and then she walked through the part where the Gen Pop walked in, and you could see there was, some manhole covers over some like mulch that they haven't exactly cleaned up. There was some heavy machinery out on the track. They're still putting the finishing touches on it, but shock of all shocks, the media wasn't exactly touring like the active construction parts, but it's largely cosmetic to your point.
It didn't seem like there were any active construction parts. I don't know though. I could be wrong. They showed us the fake marina that has been widely criticized and tweeted about now from people around the world. They were not like shy about showing us those things. They even like whoever was leading the tour at that point made a joke about it, and they were like, we've seen all the memes about this, and like we think they're funny. And I was like, oh well, if you've seen them and you think they're funny, I guess it's not that funny anymore. Like, they're in on the joke.
I actually want to ask Chris about this because this goes in line with your Zion thing. And Jess and I were workshopping this take. I think the fake water is a better move than actual real water, Chris.
I mean, they're just pivoting, right? I mean, like they'd rather have the real water. But it looks
absolutely.
it looks so good though. I have to admit though, I was not expecting to see Lewis Hamilton on 95 this morning in his car.
He was in his full car?
I was just like, I didn't think he'd have a driver before the race. I was stuck in bumper to bumper. I look left, Lewis Hamilton right there.
That's dope, bro.
You think Lewis Hamilton's driving down 95 and he's like, man, these drivers are crazy.
These are crazy drivers.
I think Lewis Hamilton was thinking that we were told this was the Miami Grand Prix, and I didn't realize there was a Gardens after the word Miami.
You always got to look out for that.
They're definitely staying in Miami.
Yeah. If there's a Gardens or Springs, just look out. Right after like the proper city name. Just look out. David, I think the water is the fake water was a stroke of brilliance, even though it was initially embarrassing because now it's become a meme in a good sense. People want to take photos with it. It's the first thing that I wanted to see once I got to the track. I'm still eagerly anticipating it. Didn't go against plan, but I think they spun it into a win.
What is your view of the ticket pricing? Because I wanted to discuss that for a minute because this is a great event for Miami. It's going to bring definite economic impact, measurable economic impact, a lot of attention, not to Miami Gardens, of course, but to Miami. But the price of entry, it's exclusive, and I wanted to know whether you had a problem with that.
No, I don't. I liked the bougie aspect, but I'm a Miami douchebag, and you can make a very easy argument that it's class. It's not fair to people that want to actually witness the spectacle of this sport. Even the campus passes are insanely priced, but that's what Formula One is, and I think to a degree that's kind of the draw with this sport. This is maybe a BS rationalization, but no one's lamenting the lack of affordable polo tickets.
What is the cheapest ticket? Like, right, if someone just wanted to go.
$100 for a campus ticket for one day for not the race. I think the campus ticket for the race may be $500. But if you want to see a practice, you can do campus for like $100 or $200.
It's just there are certain sports that are for the elite. Like this is, if I want to go to the Equestrian World Championships, I know that I'm going to be paying a premium because they just cater to a higher end. I hate that term.
Well,
but
look at the team names:
Yeah.
Aston Martin, Ferrari. Like this is
cars.
what Formula One does. Like this is what they attract. This is their clientele. Like it's not a sport for the masses. It's the cream of the crop in motorsport. And so yeah, I'm not surprised how expensive the tickets are when they're coming to Miami, a city that thrives on this kind of thing and like promoting all these. I don't know, promoting high-level things that most people can't afford.
The math is that this is the cheapest it's ever going to be.
Yeah. I can totally see that. I don't think there's going back from this. There are people in F1 circles that I spoke to, and they were kind of, all right, this is a lot. Like, we came in with, like, circus-like expectations, and this is not the norm for Formula One.
What I've also heard is that, I heard this on a podcast this morning, like, the F1 fans and like people that work in F1 internationally are like shocked by the level that the Miami Grand Prix is going to, like have all these different parties and things going on and like everything around the race, not even at the track itself. And I think it speaks to how much is for sale in the United States. Like you can brand anything and sell anything. And so you can get all these like quote unquote activations where like the Ritz-Carlton is sponsoring this thing brought to you by this thing. And so every brand wants to be attached to Formula One right now in the United States. So there's so much money for all these companies that want to have some sort of influence or have their name attached to this race.
Bro, there's a Kiki on the river, bro. They got a Kiki there. They got
Purple
multiple
there?
They got multiple Kikis. Purple's gonna be there. Dude, they gave Kygo a string section. They are sparing no expense. I thought Kygo would just kind of go through the motions for a 30-minute set, press play a bunch. part of that was true, but he brought out a bunch of guests. Brought out a grand piano. Joe Jonas.
What is a string quartet called when there's 8? Is it an octet?
I think it's an octet.
It was a string octet, David.
What's 8 string players?
Yeah. So I have a question that I'm thinking about, if you don't mind. When you look at Steve Ross, when he has events like this, and now they're talking about trying to bring the World Cup to Miami, the World Cup final in 2026, is all this enough to make Dolphins fans forget the performance of the Dolphins? Like, do you thank him for having these events at this stadium, at the redone stadium? Or do you say, hey, this is a distraction from the fact that your main business is the Dolphins? How do people view it in Miami, would you think?
I think Dolphin fans dislike Stephen Ross, and they can't disassociate the two. Me, who I don't really have a rooting interest in the Miami Dolphins, I like some of the people there, but I actually think, even taking into account the allegations of tanking, which the thought process behind it was, let's get Joe Burrow, I think he's an awesome owner. This campus is an amusement park. They have world-class tennis, soon be world-class soccer. They have Formula One races. They have college football. They have pro football. They have boxing. There isn't an athletic complex like this on the planet. It is so different from when I went there and I was bumming it around with Uglies and Cody's crew and getting a $12 fish tank ticket. David, you need to go just because you have so many ghosts over there at that piece of real estate. It is flatly unrecognizable.
So he took some public money and he took some NFL money and he did an unbelievable thing. And I can't get out of my mind, though, because when you have a core business and you try to hide your failings in your core business by trying to prop up your ancillary business, I just feel like that never is enough. Because his bread is buttered with the Dolphins. That's how it should be. But he realized quickly that he can't control the Dolphins. He's not winning with the Dolphins. So he said, I have an idea. Let me just make piles of money and try to make piles of money and try to do a bait and switch, Kaiser Soze style, so people are focused on the fake water and all the other stuff, and they ignore the fact that our team stinks.
It worked.
And
Dolphins
I give him credit for that.
I don't even know. Like, I forgot the Dolphins even play there yesterday. I was walking around and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
There was
what a statement.
No,
what
there's
a statement.
The trophy stand. Dan Marino's statue is totally stealing the show. It is weird. Everyone has photos of Kygo, and Dan Marino's statue is just pointing right up to him. No one is coming out of this better than Dan Marino, ironically enough.
Although I will
he's got
say,
the
David,
street named after him.
He does have the street named after him, and they were handing out Dolphins hats to everyone there. Some of them autographed by Formula One drivers. So they kept the Dolphins top of mind. They were handing them out to the media, to fans. Dolphins things everywhere. David,
you were complicit in Billy Corbin's propaganda piece, and I wanted to ask you
complicit.
Yeah, you were complicit. I mean, just a propaganda piece to just fuel his own personal biases because he has a vendetta against several people involved. So, David, when you say Stephen Ross used public money and stadium issues, people just lose their mind anytime there's public land and you associate a stadium with it. Museums, not so much. They don't garner the headlines and the passion. Honestly, because of Marlins Park, the whole thing is such a flammable situation. But when you bring in these world-class events, this is what they always pointed to and said, give us some money for. Miami is no doubt better for having this event in town. This is pumping in millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. It might get into the B level, what this event brings in. This is kind of what you preach, and it's being put into practice, no?
Because it's an event, right? Miami's an event town. You talked about its activation. That's the attraction. That's why, the All-Star game in Miami, even though it was during the summer where there's fewer people around, but it's still, it made money for the community. It's sort of but for money. But one of the things that we talk about, depending on the time of year, when you bring a winter event to Miami, it's not really that incremental because of the hotel rates and the occupancy rates are so high to begin with. But when you bring an event during the summertime where the rates are down and people are coming during that time, that actually does have a measurable difference. But you're right. When you are trying to get a ballpark built or a stadium built, you have to get public participation because the public is benefiting. Now, I know he's been fighting with the neighbors in Miami Gardens and the Marlins and Wayne Huizenga. Everyone's always fought with them because they've always felt like, the ugly stepchild, right? Because if you ask people, where is the Grand Prix? everybody in the world assumes it's in front of the Clevelander. Like that's sort of the running assumption.
Yeah.
And then when they realize,
I blame
it's
LeBron for taking his talents to South Beach.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's insane, right? He didn't take any. I mean, he may have taken talents to South Beach, but they certainly didn't involve whatever. They could have involved scoring. They didn't involve basketball.
Yeah, the narrative around Miami is that it's all Miami Vice. Everything is beachfront property, and they're doing this. I mean, across
I haven't
a
seen the
strip club
beach
warehouse.
in like 6 months.
Yeah.
I moved here a year ago.
The most recent beach she saw had fake water in it.
There is actually a Hard Rock Beach Club.
Yeah, no, I got a ban for that, bro. If you want the hookup, I got you. David, I'm actually tracking back to the point that I was trying to make about Sebastian Vettel. We'll get to that in a second. But
I don't tell you how to pronounce like David and Njoku or whatever. It's Vettel.
Bro, motorsports are my life. I think I know how to pronounce the last name of him. And if it is indeed Vettel, that's not the way that he's supposed to be pronouncing it.
Thanks, Chris Whittingham.
So, David, Vettel was wearing a T-shirt that said Miami Grand Prix 2060, first Grand Prix underwater, or something to that effect. And I'm not here to debate climate change with you. I think there's nothing to debate. It's a certainty. And I was curious, when you were formulating your plans for Marlins Park, how much did climate change figure into your plans?
So that's a great question. It's a 38-year lease. And we actually spoke to people in that industry, and we were quite confident, as was the county and the city at that time, that in 38 years from 2012, right? So by 2050, that Little Havana, it may be beachfront property, but it was still going to be property. And so we did not have any issues getting insurance for Marlins Park. We had no issues moving forward with Marlins Park. But if you think that real estate developers and insurance companies are not focused on that in Miami, then you're not paying attention. Although, just take a look at the insurance. I mean, Jessica, I was just thinking, you just moved. Are you the most recent person to move to Florida?
Yes.
Can you believe what's going on with insurance in Florida? Like, is it shocking to you?
David, I like when I think about how much higher my rent is going to be just after my first lease that I signed, it makes me want to cry. This is not an affordable place to live right now. And the insurance things aside, because I'm not an owner right now, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Well, I would just suggest that instead of crying, you may want to segue into renegotiation. I think that may be more effective.
Can I do both? Because that was my
Just
my
you
plan.
have to do it in the right order, though.
So 38-year lease. You weren't too worried about it at the time, but like now,
Still not.
You still wouldn't be.
No. 2050 is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the problem with climate change in general is that it's manana. It's not going to impact my estate. It's not, and I'm speaking as a real estate developer, which I'm not. It's not going to impact my estate or my kids or my grandkids or my great-grandkids. Listen, if 150 or 200 years from now, when nobody even remembers who I am, and I'm saying no matter if you're Stephen Ross, in 200 years, no one will know who Stephen Ross was. It's not going to happen. And if Miami ends up underwater, which it very well could, there will be an adjustment that will have to be made, and someone in the game of musical chairs will be left without a chair. But it's very unlikely to be anyone here today, which is why it's very hard to get people to focus on it. I don't want to spend current day dollars to try to protect against something that is going to impact future dollars.
All right, we're going to make this a more abbreviated version of the David Samson Show just because we got two local teams in the playoffs right now, but I do want to hit one baseball story before I get your review and get you out of here, and we'll do some local sports coverage. Trevor Bauer. It seems as though that book is now written, and there's no coming back from this. Suspended now multiple years of his prime, really, gone away because of a direct result of his own fucked up actions. Your take on the whole situation?
Well, it's not nearly gone away, as a matter of fact, because it was not a negotiated agreement. Every single other player who has been suspended because of violations of the domestic violence agreement it's been a negotiated settlement. Bauer would not negotiate. He would not settle. MLB gave him 324-game suspension, which is 2 years, but it's going to go to a hearing because players have the right to appeal. And the worst part is the union does not want him to appeal. They want to get rid of him completely, but they have no choice but to represent him. But they're not members of the MLB union who are actually supportive of Bauer. The Dodgers players don't want him in the clubhouse. The Dodgers front office doesn't want him in the clubhouse. But he's going to go all the way, May, and he is going to get that suspension reduced in theory. But guess what? He's still not going to play ever again. Yep. He will not throw another pitch in Major League Baseball. And on top of that, the Dodgers just made money because they thought they were going to have to pay Bauer this year if he were still on administrative leave where you still get your salary. So they now have an amount of money to spend at the deadline that would make other teams in the NL West cry.
Going to go into dangerous territory. How much about this is about the crime and how much is it about the criminal? Because Trevor Bauer has handled himself like quite the asshole here. No contrition, and it doesn't seem like many people in his own clubhouse like him, and he might just end up getting blackballed by the sport because nobody likes this guy.
So Bauer is going to argue that this was personal. And Rob Manfred is going to have to go into the hearing with the arbitrator and say, hey, Trevor, it's nothing personal. Because that, you are exactly right. Trevor Bauer, remember when he showed up Terry Francona?
Yeah. Yeah, threw the ball in the sands.
Terry Francona was his manager with the Cleveland Indians. He went to take him out of the game. Trevor Bauer, instead of giving the manager the ball, which is what you do, he turned around and threw the ball, which, by the way, was an impressive throw, might I add. He threw the ball over the center field wall. That was it. Of course, the Dodgers then paid him $34 million a year and then regretted it the minute before the ink was even dry. But you just don't show up managers that way. You don't show up teammates that way. He is finished with a capital F.
All right. He also had the World Series drone incident. There's just so many marquee off-field incidences, even though some of these have happened on the field, like the Francona thing. But he's burning way too many bridges. And I think a player that had a better reputation within clubhouses might have already been back from this.
Marcelo Zuna was charged. My friend Marcelo Zuna was charged with a felony. He ended up pleading down to a misdemeanor on camera, choking his wife. And got 20 games.
Yeah, that was the first.
So I would just like to point out, as much as I love Marcel, I have not been able to speak to him since that incident. I wish that I were still the president of the team when it happened because I would want to help him and get help for him. But clearly, there is something going on here, and that's what Trevor Bauer is going to argue.
All right, let's get your review for the week, David.
I want to do a whole segment on this, and I saved it for this show. There's a series that Dan told me to watch called The Invisible Pilot. It's an Adam McKay vehicle. Has anyone seen it?
I have not seen it yet, but I'm very close to doing it once the playoffs wrap up. It's very difficult for me to catch up on unscripted content right now. Bro, the parties are outrageous.
Well, that's you just have to get fewer hours of sleep.
I got no sleep last. You know what time I got home on a Wednesday?
2:30.
Yeah, I got home on Thursday on a Wednesday. I got home at 2:30.
By the way, that would still give me time to watch a movie. So I was told to watch this. The story of The Invisible Pilot, Adam McKay is just such a brilliant storyteller. Winning Time has its finale coming up, so we can review that coming up. So there are people the government pays to basically smuggle drugs and weapons. And this is a story of a guy who faked his own death, spoiler alert, maybe, because he was about to get caught doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and then realized, I've got a way better idea. The best thing I could do, because I'm a pilot, is I can fly weapons and get involved in the Iran-Contra affair. And if you don't remember the Iran-Contra affair with Oliver North and all the other stuff, let me just sum it up for you.
The Sandinistas.
What?
The Sandinistas.
The Sandinistas. God, how many of our listeners are focused on the Sandinistas?
I believe it's pronounced
right
the Sandinistas, but we'll get back to that.
It's called Viddle. The Viddles are getting weapons from America. They're getting drugs from South America brought back to, of course, because Miami. This is a Billy Corbin special. And all of it's happening with absolute approval of our government. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not an anti-government guy. I'm not growing a beard. I'm not faking my own death. But I just want to point out to everybody, there is so much going on that we don't know about that it would literally singe the hairs on the back of your neck. And this, in The Invisible Pilot, is the story of one of these moments, but it's not the only one, and it certainly does give you pause.
I will absolutely watch this program when my life slows down because there is way too much going on. It's Mike Ryan's personal equinox, and just shit needs to slow down. And I'm in direct control of it, and I just refuse. I won't. I love the races. I love Lewis Hamilton so much. I love all of the races. I'm Team Red Bull all the way unless they lose, and then I'll be whatever team wins. The gear is so fresh. I love every single second of this. I think I'm a big F1 guy now, guys.
So who are you predicting to win? Call it right now. Today is Thursday. Call it. Who is winning the Miami Grand Prix?
You can't say Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel. You have to name another driver.
All right. Chase Elliott.
I'm predicting Billy Elliott.
Chase Elliott. Yeah. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. I love that guy. Big gearheads cutting it up, huh? All right. Let's talk some Heat and Panthers coming up next. Thank you, David.
I'm going to implore you folks, if I am not quite myself and worse than even I usually am today, it is because my wife is doing helicopter flips shortly, and I'm a little bit scared. I've entrusted the love that I've been waiting for all my life to a place called Tamiami Airport. Tamiami, I don't trust anything Tamiami. Put it on the poll, please, Chris Cody. Do you trust anything Tamiami?
I understand. That's how I feel about Tony jumping out of a plane today. I mean,
Dan, Tamiami Airport has gone under a very classy rebrand. It is now Miami Executive Airport.
oh, wow.
Yeah, see, with the rise of NetJets and everybody having a PJ, especially down here this week, it's Miami Executive Airport.
She is doing helicopter flips with Red Bull. Tony, I don't think is actually. Tony is still claiming he's going to rush over from an interview to Mike's house to do a UFC interview after jumping out of a plane. But I believe all of us recognize the cowardice and accusing him of cowardice. Chris Whittingham is on his way right now to jump out of an airplane soon. He is scared.
I don't know if you watched Manchester City yesterday in the Champions League, but the thought of jumping out of an airplane increasingly became a positive thing in his life after Real Madrid came back.
I talked to him right after that game. He was a broken man.
I'll one up you, Stugotz. I was with him when he watched the game. He watched the game while on a behind-the-scenes tour of the Miami Grand Prix track. He was walking around with his head down, staring at an iPad for like an hour and a half while everyone's taking pictures, having a great time, drinking margaritas. And Woody just is being a little like pouty baby. At one point, after they scored the final death knell point, Woody throws an umbrella. He threw an umbrella in Hard Rock Stadium.
That's the appropriate thing for him to throw.
Of
course
he had an umbrella.
He was holding one. Yeah,
he brought an umbrella.
He checked the forecast.
You can't tell me anything more witty to throw in a rage. I would have said a parasol, but an umbrella will do.
Of course, he's prepared with an umbrella.
Well, they gave us umbrellas, but I had one too. I left it there.
Do you doubt he had one in his car, though?
He probably had several in his car.
A rack.
He
He's
took
got a
free
rack
one.
for whatever degrees of rain.
Witty told me yesterday that if this jump goes poorly, it will still be it'll be the second worst day of the week for him.
Right. Yep. He answered the phone. He sounded so down. Usually, Woody answers the phone. Hey, he's very peppy, always in a good mood. He was defeated. I said, what's wrong? He said, my favorite soccer team just lost. He goes, imagine the Jets losing. I go, Chris, that's every week.
Just let it go.
It's not the Jets.
That's what I told him.
This is a team that is always winning the league. It has spent so much money.
Please stop for a second.
Yeah, Chris Cody's still wearing.
Yes, Chris.
He had a good joke.
You just slip up a little bit. You see, everyone loves it around here when I just stumble
I didn't even
over my
hear it.
words.
What joke did you
Well,
say?
you want to say it
again? Yeah,
Say
just
it
happened
again, yeah.
I said it's something he didn't even say to me. I was making it up.
Oh, I've done that a
What was
million
it?
times.
What was it? Go over
It was
again.
that if the parachute jump today went poorly, it would still be only the second worst thing that happened to him this week.
But what happened? You stumbled over one of the words. You lost
The
confidence
Man City
there.
thing would be worse than if he died died. That's
Yeah.
the joke I was making.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Thank
trying to
you.
and thank you
nailed
for
it.
going
Yeah.
back. I was about to explain Man City to
Chris
Stugotz.
Cody, brought to you by Sheets
No,
and
please
Giggles.
do. Explain Man City
Nah,
to me.
you
No,
were
I
good.
want to know. I want to know why he was so defeated.
That
It's a
it was an
city-
insane bad beat.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
Man City, Stugotz, just so you know, is a city made up entirely of men.
Huh. Wow.
What about Man United?
She stared you down after
She
saying
did.
that, looking for a gleam of recognition where you would say it is, and for a moment you would think so.
Man United is a group of
Jabby
men that hold
thinking.
hands.
Really? Interesting.
I want to get to the Miami Heat. I want to get to the Florida Panthers. I want to get to Ed Marinero. I believe the shining star of an otherwise dreadful NFL draft. Ed Marinero, if you were not watching, came on stage, started talking too much, and then a producer named or looking like Jessica walked right up and said, "You got to wrap this up, Ed. You're a bit of a yammerer." We have got the guest of guests today. Ed Marinero will join us
Yes.
to tell us his story. Chris Cody, though, if you want him getting through his words more successfully, I really am enjoying what him and Roy are doing after the Panther games. And last night, after the Heat game, Chris Cody and Whittingham on the postgame show. I urge you to listen to that, even though it's a pregame show. It's already out. They were funny for a number of reasons in the instant analysis after the game. But Chris Cody, after game one, said Miami Heat fans are maligned unfairly. They're great fans, except that they leave early and arrive late. But otherwise, they're great fans. He was defending them. And then
Once they show up, the energy's good.
And then yesterday, you're like, doesn't feel like the playoffs. So after 2 games, second round, Chris Cody's analysis.
Well, that was because I went to the Panthers game the night before. And
Right.
that, even though they didn't play like it, that felt like a playoff game. This Heat team without Embiid, they've won this series already. This feels like a regular season game at the arena.
This has been really boring. Every other night in the NBA is boring. When the Heat play, when the Suns play, those 2 series are over. Now, tonight's going to be exciting. But every other night, it's dreadful.
I would say to you that because of the way the game has distorted toward threes, you might want to get used to a lot of terrible 18-point games where you're like, oh, the Sixers were never in that. They were 8-10 points, but they're not going to get there. This isn't going to actually become interesting. There's not going to be any fear involved in what I'm watching.
But I know Heat Celtics, Heat Bucks is going to be exciting. Either team's going to be exciting. And I know Suns Warriors or Suns Grizzlies is going to be exciting. This is dreadful.
I don't feel like we
I-
should skip right past what the Sixers are and what this series should be.
I cannot believe you are talking about the Heat in these terms. That you are bored with this dominant run.
No, they're great, Mike.
They've lost one game. It was a 1-point loss. They've had double-digit leads in the fourth quarter of every game. They've lost what, 1 game since March 26th?
12 of 13.
Yeah, Mike,
They've
we're
won
not-
12 of 13.
I'm not getting used to this dominance. This is what the
Whoa.
Miami Heat are doing are just straight up wrecking fools.
But me and Chris are not criticizing the Heat. They are that good. We're just saying the games are boring.
I'm not bored by this. I'm
no, but
enjoying
Dan
the
was
living
talking
hell out
about
of
you
this.
want to feel alive, you want to feel that pressure. We're not going to feel it until next round.
I'm enjoying.
Right.
Pardon me.
It's okay.
Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying the hell out of it from the Formula One track.
But the front court for that Philly team without Embiid,
Oh,
woof.
terrible.
Like, that's the part. Like, I get you, Mike. The Heat look great right now, but the nation can just look at us and be like, but who have you played so far?
I was
You're playing DeAndre Jordan and George Niang.
For the audience, I was choking on liquid IV because Papa had a night last time. But look, this Philly team, as presently constituted, is not very good because they're missing what, in my mind, is the MVP. First 2 games kind of prove that, but I don't think that's enough to change what this series is, and it certainly shouldn't dilute the Miami Heat's greatness, because they have been the best team in basketball after that brush up on the sidelines. They had 4 bad games, and that was all the national media decided to talk about. I'm not going to do the lamenting thing here,
Right.
but after they beat Atlanta without Jimmy Butler, without Kyle Lowry, the national discourse was, hey, that's a real bad look that Jimmy Butler sat that game out. Hey, Trae Young stunk. And this team, no one knows how to talk about them. So they just either don't or they go to bullshit topics.
They're a great team. We're not trying to say that they're not. We just want an exciting game.
We're
Like,
honestly
that's all.
giving
Right.
the Heat credit.
Yes,
We're saying that
they're
they're
too
so
good.
dominant in these first two series that this doesn't feel like the playoffs yet. Next series, Boston, Milwaukee, that's going to be insane. But
Yes.
Well,
as of right now, and if they
would-
lose game 3, it could all change.
No, I will
They
slow.
won't.
I will slow you down on this by just saying that will look like a vastly different team with Embiid out there. I don't know how you do the calculations on what kind of Embiid are you getting when he's wearing a face mask because his face is shattered and he's got a ligament in his hand that is damaged, shooting hand. And the last time I saw him play, what he was doing is just being super physical, getting near the rim. It's not the expanse that is his MVP game.
It's an if on Embiid right now, right, Mike? Because there are reports that are saying that Embiid might not play at all in this series.
Yeah,
Yes.
Woj said that they were optimistic that he can make it back for possibly game 3. We'll see. The last time he had a similar injury, he missed, I think, 18. It was in the neighborhood of 18 or 22 games. Not exactly sure. He can come back with this. It all depends on how they look at it internally. I still think he has to pass concussion protocol. It stands to reason that he would. The Sixers need to make a decision. Is it worth it right now to put out this player with a very long injury history when he's already got a banged up thumb? What are our chances in this series? Do we just pack it in? I am bummed because I too wanted all the smoke.
Right.
Because I felt like I had the winning hand. I think the Miami Heat are a great deal better than this Philadelphia 76ers team that has been counting down to Cabo for a couple of months now. And
You're
now,
saying with Embiid, by
I
the way.
wanted Embiid out there.
Yeah, I know you did.
I wanted
Right.
Embiid. I wanted a more challenging series. Miami's got to go into an absolute rock fight in the Eastern Conference Finals against either Milwaukee or Boston. And I want to be able to iron out this end of game stuff. I want to see our players perform in the clutch. I want to start getting a little bit more faith because that game 3 in Atlanta did scare me. Granted, Lowry was out.
I do worry about that, where the Celtics and Bucks are playing a series in which all that stuff has to happen. You have to finish games. It's a close series. There are close games. The Heat are easing into this. Like the first time it seems like they're going to have a close game is in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Embiid is a tremendous player. There's a reason why everyone is talking about this series, and that's the first place that they go to. Also, I'm kind of jealous because we didn't get that when Bam and Goran were out in the NBA Finals. We are absolutely blitzing these guys. They got nothing. Doc Rivers has become a joke. James Harden has become a disaster contract in 2 games. I wanted to absolutely wreck this franchise and be the one to do it. I'm pissed off because I get to hold on to the Embiid life raft.
Okay, you hold on a second.
Maury's taking care of it
because-
for you.
Hold on, all right? Just everyone calm down because we've got maximum obnoxious Homer Mike back again.
I mean, they're good, Dan.
And I just want to know the difference between a rock fight and an absolute rock fight because I feel like it would have been sufficient to promise
rocks.
us an upcoming rock fight. But now
bigger
you're
rocks.
making rocks made out of absolute something. What like
Yeah, because I've used rock
sponsored
fight.
by Absolute?
I've said rock fight before, and I don't want you to take this lightly.
So this is a bigger.
This is a
it's
bolder-
a more
Yes.
absolute.
You put the absolute in front of it,
You've
yes.
only
Yeah.
seen diluted rock fights. What you're saying is the Eastern Conference
pebbles.
one.
Those
are
That
pebbles,
one's
yeah.
going to be
This
an
is real.
absolute
Yeah.
rock
It's
fight.
an absolute rock fight that also drags us into deep water.
Wow.
Both of them. Wow.
Wow, it's
Okay,
amazing.
that's an announcement Mike has made. He is not wrong in the coverage of this Heat team. They have, when they've been trying to win games here, they've won 12 of their last 13, and the loss is by 1 point to Trae Young. The coverage, as we've said in sports, has skewed more negative, so it's more about blame than credit. So first series, Trae Young, you stink. Now this series, James Harden, you stink. The Heat probably have something to do with that. I don't think. We'll see what Tatum does. We'll see what Antetokounmpo does because they might get told that they stink too because 3 guys coming to meet you at the top when one of them is Bam makes for formidable defense. Not what I wanted to talk about today, though. What I wanted to talk about today.
I was just gonna jump in, like someone we don't like to speak to the Heat's depth. We don't even talk about Max Strus. The Heat are 20-3 since they put him in the
Well, no,
starting
but Duncan
lineup.
Robinson didn't play last night. We saw
got pity minutes.
Again, first time you saw him in the playoffs, one of the great shooting nights ever. Okay, don't need you anymore. Sit on the side.
20-3 though. Since Eric Spoelstra made that decision, which is, look, Duncan Robinson makes $19 million a year. Duncan Robinson, at times during their bubble run, had amazing games for them. They made the decision to go with someone else, and they are the best team in the sport since they made that decision, overwhelmingly so.
You also have Oladipo. I mean, that's
another thing. That's insane. This team's
well, no, but that also plays into Duncan's minutes as well. And then, yes, to have that guy off the bench is insane. He outplayed Harden last night.
You don't have a natural point guard. We haven't had a natural point guard since game 2 of the first round. Gabe Vincent was a 2 guard. They did this without Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry in a game. Just mismatch parts and keep it rolling.
But the place I'll stop you, though, Mike, and I know the audience is hearing it this way outside of Miami. The place I will stop you is that these are 2 really underwhelming opponents that they have faced.
Yes.
And made the
That's why you fight Dan, but that's why you fight for the 1 seed. I mean, that's why you fight the regular season for the 1 seed.
And they look that way because Miami's really damn good.
The Suns are getting the same thing.
Well, no, the Suns got dragged into shallow water with the Pelicans.
Yeah,
but
Booker was hurt.
Not a rock fight. It was just they were launching, throwing powder and dust at each other.
Mud ball, maybe a mud ball.
A little scare. Chris Paul had to go 14 to 14 from the field. That was a little interesting.
Devin Booker was hurt.
Stugotz, Chris Paul again was great last night.
That's great. Do it in the next round. Well, do it on the road first.
I appreciate you trying to rein me in and speaking for the national
But the
audience
thing I
that
wanna
decides
talk
to listen to local hour. But you want to shut me up? Beat us.
Oh, for the love of God.
No, beat us. We look overwhelming because we are. Atlanta looks like shit because we clown their ass. Philadelphia looks washed and like their window just closed because we're shutting the fucking door.
Okay.
Clowns.
Okay, but you're beating a 4 seed in 2 games at home, and you beat Atlanta, and Stugotz is saying, how will they ever lose a game? They lost one to Trae Young a couple of games ago.
They lost their point guard in the middle of it.
And I do not mean to diminish. Like, I actually agree with Chris Cody as I was watching that game last night, I was watching it like a regular season game. There was nothing there to be dramatic about. Every time Philadelphia got to within 10, Miami had some sort of answer on one of the ends. And then Victor Oladipo is hitting threes, and you're like, they're really good offensively, and it'll be harder against Phoenix or Golden State or Boston or Milwaukee. They're one of the best teams. I think most people would agree with that, just watching what you're watching on their shooting. Not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was that last night I really enjoyed that Dwayne Dedmon, who last time we saw him, 3 fouls in 38 seconds.
The mechanic.
Well, this is what I wanted to come up with. I saw the headline. He got very excited. Dwayne Dedmon, again, not that many years ago, someone who looked like Dwayne Dedmon would never be spotting up at the top of the 3-point line and saying, here, give me the ball. I want to get this building roaring.
We had a heat check last night.
Right. And so he gets the ball and he shoots an air ball, and it was funny. But I was laughing at the mechanic brought the hammer. The Heat sent out a headline.
That's what a mechanic does.
That said, the mechanic brought the hammer because he was fed on some sort of dunk. And Dwayne Dedmon, the mechanic brought the hammer, reminded me of when Joel Anthony was the warden in terms of lamest nicknames in South Florida history.
Are you kidding me? The warden was one of the great nicknames in South Florida history, and I'm not certain the mechanic's not better. I mean, oh my God. I didn't realize he had a nickname until just now.
You also didn't realize.
That's funny because you made the joke.
Yeah, no, but Mike put it in my ear. I mean,
that wasn't obvious.
Yeah. Wow. While you guys were laughing at Dwayne Dedmon taking a heat check 3, I'm going to break the news to you that he's better from 3 than Steph Curry is.
I trust him. I trust him.
No, he's not.
Juju.
No, he's
Dwayne
not.
Dedmon is better than Steph Curry from 3.
This year's
he
been
is a
bad,
40% shooter from downtown.
Yes.
For your life, okay? A guy has to hit a 3.
Dedmon. You're
choosing
Dedmon.
I'm dead, Mom. I'm dead, Mom.
I was waiting for that one.
He really is. Now, Steph Curry did not shoot very well this year, but Dwayne Dedmon, you're telling us that not for his career, Dwayne Dedmon is better from 3. You're saying
credit to Coach Spo.
This season,
Culture, man.
For his career, he's a 33% shooter. Injected with some culture, 40% from downtown. Should probably give him the green light a little bit more because he's only averaging just about over a half a 3-point shot a game.
I do believe that you guys will return to fearing Danny Green when all of their players like Niang, who has started 0 for 9 from 3 in their series, all of their bench players get to go home for a little while.
Oh, they'll look great.
Danny Green, you were laughing all of a sudden, right? What happened last night where Danny Green gets the ball in the corner, you fear every time that's going to go in for the rest of your life. Yeah. And he couldn't make anything last night.
PTSD. Look, the games 3 and 4, it's about getting 1 because that's how you get to Eaton 5. You gentlemen sweep him. You bring James Harden's ass back down here to South Florida. He's not going to want any of it. And you just finish them off, and we go on to Milwaukee and Boston. We have our sorted past with those 2 franchises in the very recent postseason. I'm looking forward to it.
I think Harden loves South Florida. Not to play basketball. He just loves South Florida. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
and we love having him. Love having him.
I want to ask you guys something. Have you guys gotten used to, and this might be the Harden rule, if it doesn't have that name, it ought to. In last night's game, Korkmaz, who I believe the Chris's have described as the white flag of surrender, the human white flag of surrender. He was in the corner with a 3, and Dedmon was coming out at him. And Dedmon is a very large person, and it still seems unnatural to me that guy is roaring at you to want that contact. And Korkmaz did the thing that we've seen for years. Stugotz guy pump fakes, and somebody's going to sail past you, but you lean into him when you're taking the shot, and you try and get the foul from 3. But they called the offensive foul on Korkmaz correctly. They called it on Korkmaz, even though he didn't lean into him even that much. He got Dedmon up in the air and sought the contact of Dedmon flying past him. And as I was watching that, thought to myself, I have not yet gotten used to this rule change. I still expect that to be you're asking the instinct of Korkmaz, which is, this is how I've played basketball all my life, is if I get a guy on a pump fake, I'm going to lean into him to see if I can get that call.
Right.
It's still, I haven't have you gotten used to that? Because I have not gotten used to that yet.
I haven't gotten used to it yet, but I don't have to. They do. Those guys need to know they can't do it anymore. It's not happening. The NBA made a rule change. James Harden is affected the most by it, but you can't do it anymore.
He's not really.
Well, he kind of is, Mike.
He's still doing I'll hook their arm and get them called for a foul. He still goes to the line plenty.
But he leaned in
a little bit.
Mike, he leaned in so much, James, and got the calls so many times.
Yeah, they've tried to go away with that, and that, in fairness, that wasn't a Harden thing. They tried to eradicate that from the game a year prior, I believe, with the pump fake and just lean in. This isn't a pure shot attempt. James Harden's still getting away with plenty of bullshit. Have you guguys talked about Matisse Thybulle any?
What about him?
1 shot made this entire series.
I mean, you've been here, so you would know if we talked about him or not.
I actually haven't been here. This is my first Heat recap show. Because
people have felt the relief of it because you came in strong.
I'm gonna talk my shit.
Oh, well, no, you don't say.
I'm gonna talk my shit.
You gave them a lot of wheeze. We've dragged them. We've been the strongest team in the sport.
Man, he was singing Pepas during a Kygo concert last night. I'm not even kidding. He did it several times.
And that reminded me to check the score. Because, yes, I am a Heat lifer that went to a Kygo concert last night.
Yeah.
Because fuck Philadelphia.
You're not sweating this.
I am not sweating this. I am not at all changing my routine. I am not going to withdraw life's rewards because we're playing the Philadelphia 76ers because they're not even professionals.
Well,
they're not showing up to the game. Why should I?
I'm not ranting after this. Like, I'm not. If this doesn't have
they're
fear in it,
not worth it. Yeah.
I will not agree to doing.
Wait for the Bucks or the Celtics.
But how did you guys feel about Tyler Hero winning 6th Man of the Year and our man Jack Harlow, who the NBA referees are now making videos? I mean, that made me uncomfortable. The refs, I'm not the joy police, but when Scott Foster, and I don't know if it was Ed Malloy, they did not know who it was courtside at a Celtics game, who Jack Harlow was, and now they're doing a slick video with cinematography, walking a music video, doing a Jack Harlow song. But Jack Harlow, who is very popular and has helped make Tyler Hero very popular, they seem to be best buds, says, "So proud of my dog." Jack Harlow has endorsed Tyler Hero.
Who isn't proud of their dog? I'm so proud of my dog.
Mm-hmm.
But it's dog, D-A-W-G is how he's spelling it.
White guys.
Like his dog.
White woman.
I'm also proud of his dog. Tyler Hero was laughed at before the season, saying that he compared himself to Luka and Trae Young, and he truly believed that he belonged in that class. Look at the numbers. Not ridiculous. at all.
Well,
Luka's a tremendous
ridiculous.
player.
It's ridiculous with
But-
Luka.
but
He's not there yet, but that's okay.
But
Like,
if you
what
look
is
at
that?
shooting
He's
splits.
6th man of the year. He's not Luka, who has now entered the rarefied air of Stugotz, the way the sport has changed the last 10 years. Him and Ja Morant, they don't have enough. Not only Dame Lillard, in the age of the super team, we know those guys are great, but we know their teammates aren't.
Luka's averaging, I think, 40 points a game in this series. There's no one else out there with him. I feel like Ja Morant doesn't need anyone else. Ja Morant's perfectly fine going at it by himself. Luka absolutely needs someone else because he is terrible on the defensive end. I mean, he's out there by himself, Mike. It's terrible.
What I was,
So you were
what
giving
I was
Brunson
saying.
big money a couple of days ago.
Yeah, well,
Brunson-
that was without Luka. I
He's
mean,
got Brunson. They're talking about Brunson getting a max. He bet on himself, and it seems like he's about to cash that thing in. What I meant for
Dallas
Tyler
is
Hero,
not giving him the max.
Luka
Mike.
is infinitely a much better player than Tyler Hero. He is a complete boss. What he was doing in the post yesterday was just I was marveling at it.
Beautiful.
Luka's a tremendous player. It's a joy to watch him. I was just mainly talking about shooting splits because Tyler does absolutely belong in that class with them from the field.
I will again say he's one of the purest scorers I've ever seen wear a Heat uniform. And I will again say, because many people thought it was really mocking for the Heat to see Tyler Hero's early years, and when they saw them, say, that Hero poster that you had in your room of Devin Booker, aspire to that. That's something that's not unreasonable for you to be that. He is not these things yet. Devin Booker is a great defensive player. He's a better offensive player. But Tyler Hero is already a player that Heat fans trust to score and score big and be a player that is very hard to stop, making scoring look as easy as he did last night. Like, that is a player that might not be, he's not Luka, and Trae Young was 4th in the league in scoring. And I don't know if I put Tyler Hero on the Hawks and made him their number one option and gave him the shoot from wherever you want, whenever you want, whether I'm also getting something that looks like an 8 seed that's not going to do very much when it runs up against the Heat, but can look like, I believe that Tyler Hero with the right minutes as a number one option where he doesn't have to be
He'd
Jimmy
average 30 a
Butler.
game.
I mean, he might not do it efficiently, but he would be somebody who can score a ton as a number one scorer in this league on a team that wouldn't be good enough.
He's only 22 years old, Tyler Hero, and I agree with you that he would be, a 30-point-a-game scorer. He's a great offensive player. He's a guy who comes off the bench. But, Dan, here's the thing with Tyler Hero. When he gets up off the bench, the crowd gets excited. You know you're about to get an explosion. It's like Vinnie Johnson with the Pistons back in the day in the microwave. No, I'm serious.
Again with the
I can't recall a guy when he
Oh,
gets
for the
up
love
off the
of
bench,
God.
I get that excited. But when I see Tyler Hero get up off the bench, I get excited. I'm not even a Heat fan.
He does get the biggest reaction from
Yes.
the crowd. It's noticeable.
That's not what I'm laughing
And my
at.
kids love him. I mean, they think he is a hottie.
The microwave.
It also makes things hot.
What, that I don't have a more
It's just you don't
recent
have
reference for a guy off the bench?
Yes, that you don't have a 6th man who's not from 1987.
It's Vinnie Johnson or
It's
McHale.
just Vinnie Johnson, a guy who basically got that nickname before we invented the microwave. So long ago.
Visionary. I mean, I don't have a 6th man. I don't have a recent Vinnie. It's Tyler Hero.
He's a max player.
Yeah, but he's not leaving, right?
No, but he's going to be a max player. Effortless scorer.
He's so good.
no defense, though.
Spo says Spo's trying to. He doesn't want that narrative out there. Teams who you see it. Teams who go
they
after
go right
him.
at him.
Yeah, they go right after him. Strus is legitimately a solid defender.
Really good.
Yeah, that to me is wild.
Him stripping Maxey at the rim yesterday, where he just cleanly took the ball from him without fouling him.
Thanks for the reminder. I gotta actually add Maxey to my Strus cow.
Jesus.
Was Maxey's 30-something points noticeable on the broadcast? Because in the arena, it snuck up on us.
You said that
It was an empty 34.
No, you said that in the post game. It's because the game was never within 10, but the reason it was always within 10 is because he kept bringing them back from 13 and 15 down.
He had 30?
He had 30
all right,
plus.
so he's not getting in the Strus cow. Can't put him in the Struzkow.
That's-
Is Harden in the
he had
Struzkow?
30 plus, and he had it efficiently
I mean-
too.
Oh, I'm putting Tybalt in the Struzkow. I'm not even sure who Struz is matching. You can't do that with his team. They're always they're switching so goddamn much.
This Sixers team is 3 deep.
Yep.
Oh, it's such a bad bench.
Tobias Harris,
Such
It's
a bad
bad.
bench.
besides Maxey, Tobias Harris, and Harden. Outside of those 3, this is such an insanely bad roster.
And Danny Green every third night.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
that's it,
team
yes.
is lucky to be in the second round. They just got a sweetheart draw with an injured Raptors team. They were not better than a healthy Toronto Raptors. I think we saw towards the end of that series, granted, the Sixers won the last game by 30, but I think we saw with Scotty Barnes out there, if they had Van Vliet, that would have been a real problem for Philadelphia. This team's just got no guts. No
Oh, here we
guts.
are again.
I'm
Guts.
Here we
2
go.
games into this.
Guts.
You know
Right.
what it is?
He's right.
They
Do
have
the
no
Panthers have
Embiid.
guts, Roy? I need to move
We'll
this
find out
off
tonight.
of.
Yeah.
My Brian
Both
likes to
guts.
talk
It's a
Sixers
do you have
so
guts
much.
game.
Stupid
Yes.
question. You know they got
It's
guts.
a do you have guts game?
Yes, it is.
No.
Go out, you win a
You
game.
know what? Go win
Yep.
a playoff game.
Yeah.
I love this Panther team. They're fun. They're exciting. They're high scoring. Do me a favor. You've made the postseason now 2 years in a row. You've had 2 good regular seasons. The fans are coming out. They're early. They're excited. It's 10 minutes from my house. I haven't been to a game. I plan on going tonight. I think I'm going tonight.
Look at us.
Oh,
We're
I
going.
think I'm going
I'll be
tonight.
there.
I think
I'll be there.
wait a minute.
I think I'm
Danny,
going
you
tonight.
going?
Wait, Stugotz
Jess, are
is
you going?
hold on. Stugotz
No.
is I think
Under one condition, though.
Stugotz is I think I'm going is
Wait, I
never
mean,
I'm
yes.
going.
I think I'm going under one condition. Go win a bleeping hockey game.
So you'll go after?
Yeah, perhaps. We'll
Okay.
see.
I'll
All
go
right.
if they win.
I need Roy to say this right
If
now.
they win a game, I'll go.
Perhaps I'll go after. Perhaps,
If they win, I mean-
perhaps if they win, what
I'm with Stu.
he's gonna drive to Sawgrass at 11 p.m. and just mill about the parking lot as people leave.
Act like I was there.
Meet
Yes.
you at quarterdeck.
Well, they're gonna win tonight, so
I love the idea of Stugotz not even
High-fiving Panther
doing
fans.
lazy winning just to be a part of it. Make them think I was there. Go put on a jersey and just hang out in the parking lot. It's actually the textbook definition of a bandwagon Miami fan.
I want a jersey that says bandwagon.
Roy has declared that they're winning tonight. Don't put all your eggs in this is a must-win basket. Hockey postseason's weird. This is a very good road team in the Capitals. I think if the Florida Panthers go down 0-2, it's not series over. Don't psych yourself up into that. I know it feels like a must-win just because we haven't won a playoff series in 26 years, but the Florida Panthers are certainly good enough to come back from an 0-2 deficit.
yes, they are. But I'm just saying they're going to win tonight. I am.
You
fully
said that before
confident.
game 1.
Wow.
I did say that.
You
you
did
did.
say that. Your words mean nothing.
They need,
Yeah,
they need to
you're right,
pull an
they do.
Edmonton.
Right.
Well, eventually he'll be right, though, I think.
No,
I mean,
they can-
unless there's a sweep.
This series is going 7. This is a battle-tested championship team. It is not a fun matchup because they're patient. They're not going to overextend themselves. They're going to wait and see if the Florida Panthers can mature to calm down enough and be themselves.
I
Because
just
that
made-
game 1 team was not themselves.
I just made the Roy parlay bet. I just made it. I did make it on game 1 and I lost it, but it's the Panthers winning by more than a goal and over 3.5 on goals scored at -160 because
Wow.
it's not exactly value on 3.5 playoff goals, but that's the way I'm going.
I'm gonna emotionally hedge today. I like the Capitals in the series. I put a unit and a half on them to win the series. I think it's going 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we get to 7.
You bet against the
and
Panthers?
I'll
How
be so
dare you?
I'll be so happy for the it's an emotional hedge. I'll be so happy.
Put
for
it
the
on
Florida
your
Panthers.
put it
It's a
on the
win-win.
put it on the
You
poll,
just told him to
please.
prove it.
Chris Cody
Yeah.
at LeBatard Show. Put it on the poll. Do you ever bet against your team? At LeBatard Show.
In fairness to Mike, I do it all the time. It's a win-win situation for you. Like I do it with the Jets a lot.
And look, we're
Yeah.
emotionally tied to this club. If this were the Calgary Flames, we'd look at that track record, that goalie, and if they were going up against a former Stanley Cup champion opponent in the first round, we've seen this a million times in the NHL playoffs, especially with President's Trophy winners. Like that, this is easy pickings from a gambling perspective. I think there's a lot of value in the Washington Capitals, and I'm daring the Florida Panthers to prove me wrong, and I will be actively rooting on them to prove me wrong. I love this.
Look at
team.
Mike emotionally protecting his unprincipled, disloyal bet of my money's on the Capitals, which you just said publicly.
Yeah.
You've announced it.
Capitals to win the
Motivation.
series, and
Yep.
series
You
to go 7.
believe that the value is in you having your heart broken because the Panther team of Roy's lifetime has failed again. You are betting on that. Mike is literally betting against Roy's joy.
Roy, if I tell you in a vacuum, I got a recent Stanley Cup champion at 3-1 against a team that hasn't won a playoff series in 26 years with a bad goalie situation. You're taking that bet.
Yes.
3-1.
You're right. But this
Why
is my
are we
team,
in a
though.
vacuum? An excellent question. Why? Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show.
Is it a
Why am I
Dyson?
There's Dustin
Is it
here.
a Dyson?
There's Kitty Litter. What's here? What is this orange fuzz? Why am I in a vacuum?
Orange fuzz. Little fuzzy balls. So, guys, just to recap, I will be there after if they wait.